Have you ever listened as a woman told you about a bad day, a betrayal or a fear, thinking she wanted advice, and then watched her withdraw like you just missed your chance? You sat there genuinely trying to help, offering solutions, logic, maybe even motivation. But instead of gratitude, she grew distant. Her eyes lost warmth, her tone changed, and suddenly it felt like you'd done something wrong. But you couldn't explain what. What if I told you that what she handed you in that moment wasn't just a story or event session? It was a test, an invitation, and a map all at once. A test of your emotional composure, an invitation into her inner world, and a map that silently shows you how to build real connection, or destroy it without even knowing. Because here's the truth most men never learn. When a woman tells you her problems, she's not merely dumping stress or fishing for solutions. She's measuring you, your emotional depth, your strength, your ability to stay steady when her world feels uncertain. She's subconsciously observing whether you'll listen or lecture, whether you'll feel or fix, whether you'll stand beside her or try to stand above her. Every time she opens up, she's revealing a coded language of trust. The way she speaks shows what she values. The details she emphasizes expose what she fears. The pauses between her sentences tell you how safe she feels with you. Miss those signals, and you'll find her walls rising, her tone cooling, and her energy drifting elsewhere. Understand them, and you'll unlock a level of emotional connection most men never touch. In today's world, where men are praised for confidence but rarely taught emotional competence, this truth becomes your edge. The man who can listen without losing composure, feel without overreacting, and respond without dominating is the man every woman remembers. He's the calm in her storm, the one who doesn't fix her, but strengthens her simply by being grounded. So today, I'm going to break it all down. From New York to Sydney, Manchester to Los Angeles, I'll walk you through real stories, hidden psychological cues, and practical Stoic wisdom that will transform how you respond when a woman confides in you. You'll understand how to read between her words, how to maintain masculine calm under emotional pressure, and how to turn moments of vulnerability into powerful connection. Because this isn't just about communication, it's about mastery of presence, emotional discipline, and the art of being unshakable. Listen closely, because once you understand what truly happens when a woman shares her problems, you'll never hear her the same way again. And from that moment forward, you'll stop guessing what she wants and start embodying what she's been searching for all along. 1. The emotional competence litmus. How she tests whether you can hold emotional intensity. There's a bench outside, a small cafe in Manhattan where I once watched a short scene that taught me everything about emotional competence. Olivia, drained from a brutal week, described a meeting where a colleague took credit for an idea she'd pitched. Mark, her date, leaned forward with that familiar helper's eagerness and launched into a rapid-fire list. You should email HR next time you need to document it. Here's the template. He thought he was useful. Olivia's shoulders dropped. The warmth left her voice. The rest of the conversation became transactional. A few days later in Manchester, I heard Emily tell Daniel the same kind of story, the colleague steals work storyline. Daniel didn't pounce. He let silence sit between them for 1-2 heartbeats. Then he said softly, "That was unfair. I can see why you're hurt. No fix, no checklist." Emily's posture shifted. Her anger smoothed into relief. She spoke more vulnerably, deeper truths came out. And the distance between them closed. What separates Mark from Daniel is not intellect or intentions. It's emotional calibration. When a woman shares a problem, she's testing whether you can sit with feeling without behaving as if feelings are a problem to be solved. She's watching. Do you flinch? Do you rush to rescue? Do you invalidate with logic? Or do you remain steady and present? Why does this matter? Emotions are noisy. If you attempt to silence that noise with solutions, you signal that you value control over connection. That can feel like eviction. You remove her feeling from the space and replace it with your answer. Conversely, when you name the feeling, that sounds humiliating. You must feel betrayed. You convert raw emotion into language, and language is what creates safety. The Stoic distinction here is critical. Stoicism is not emotional suppression. It is emotional stewardship. You notice the feeling, you label it, you keep your center. 3 practical ways to pass the litmus immediately. 2-beat rule. When she stops, count silently to 2 before speaking. That pause signals you're not racing to the next thing. It also gives her permission to continue if she needs to. One-word mirror. Mirror the dominant emotion in one precise word. That's humiliating. That's frustrating. You sound exhausted. Don't paraphrase the facts. Label the feeling. It's surgical and disarming. Calibration question. Ask one tiny clarifying query. Do you want advice or do you want to get this off your chest? This moves the power to her and prevents your instinctive takeover. Deeper example. Michael from Toronto used to be a fixer. His empathy came with action items. After a painful breakup, he forced himself to practice the 2-beat pause and single-word mirror for months. At first it felt awkward. Then it felt purposeful. Women began confiding in him differently. He noticed they explained more, trusted more, and the relationships that followed were steadier. Why? Because people don't want their emotions stamped with quick solutions. They want them witnessed. Witnessing is not passive. It's an act of strength. Warning signs you're failing the litmus. You feel anxiety to speak. You feel the urge to be useful, or you immediately start strategizing in your head. Those are your cues to slow down. The man who can hold still while another person trembles is not weak. He's rare. That rarity is magnetic. 2. Breadcrumbs of value. The little details she repeats that reveal what truly matters to her. People don't just speak, they signal. When a woman repeats a detail, 3 phrases, or even a single word during different stories, she's not being redundant. She's dropping breadcrumbs. Those breadcrumbs map her internal currency. The values she will defend, the things she cannot tolerate, the moral axis she uses to judge others and herself. Take Sarah from Los Angeles. She told a story about a canceled weekend. She said, "He promised 3 times in the span of 2 minutes." Not because she was forgetful, but because promise was the unit of value she was spending in that moment. Her boyfriend laughed, thinking it trivial. But for Sarah, a promise wasn't logistical. It was moral. It signaled reliability, integrity, and emotional investment. That repetition was her subconscious flashing a red light. This matters to me. When her boyfriend shrugged, he didn't just miss a word. He missed the signal that would have aligned him with her core needs. Another case in Toronto. A woman mentioned respect. In different contexts, and a landlord's dismissal, a teammate's snide remark, a friend's joke. The man across the table heard the incidents but not the currency. Because he failed to pick up the repeated term, he talked and behaved in ways that later clashed with her clarified value system. The consequence? Diminished attraction and growing emotional distance. How to listen for breadcrumbs and respond so you resonate instead of repel. Mental tally. Keep a quick private count of recurring words or themes. If she says promise, wise, respect, or honesty more than once, treat that as a spotlight. Anchor reflection. Bring the value into the conversation explicitly. You mentioned promise a few times. It sounds like reliability is huge for you. This short move signals deep attention and psychological attunement. Value-aligned action. Once you name the value, mirror it with behavior. If she values loyalty, show up consistently. If she values competence, be decisive when it matters. Alignment is not manipulation. It's integrity. Why this works psychologically. Humans build identity around values. When someone reflects your values, it creates a fast track to emotional bonding because it feels like seeing a part of yourself recognized. That recognition produces oxytocin, trust, and desire. Men who repeatedly ask, "How does this matter to you?" are operating at a far deeper level than men who ask, "What happened?" The former engages identity. The latter scratches at surface facts, practical scripts you can use, not to recite robotically but to internalize. You keep saying promise. I can tell that reliability matters to you. That makes sense. It sounds like respect is core for you. I hear that. If honesty is important, what would feel right in this situation? Training practice. During conversations this week, silently note any repeated phrase. At the next natural pause, reflect it back, even one sentence. Watch how often the person leans in further. That single habit converts casual talk into meaningful exchange. Final truth about breadcrumbs. When you recognize and honor someone's values, you don't just gain points for being empathic. You become aligned with the person's moral world. That alignment is the soil where consistent attraction grows. Miss it and you remain a passing presence. Catch it and you begin to matter. So the confidentiality ledger. Why keeping her trust private is the currency of intimacy. Trust is a ledger. Every time she reveals something private, she deposits vulnerability. If you squander that deposit by gossiping, posting, or turning her moment into entertainment, you're effectively stealing from the account of intimacy. Daniel in London learned this the hard way. Olivia told him about a painful fight with her sister. He joked about it to friends, trying to be funny. Olivia found out. The joke wasn't funny anymore. She felt exposed. That breach didn't just cause anger, it closed her down permanently. You might think social sharing is harmless. It isn't. Vulnerability given is a fragile thing, and social media turns it into a spectacle. The Stoic man understands what is sacred and treats it accordingly. Keeping confidence is masculine discipline. It's the quiet, powerful habit that says, I can be trusted. Rule of thumb: assume confidentiality unless she explicitly says otherwise. If you're tempted to tell someone, ask yourself, would sharing this help her reputation or hurt it? If in doubt, protect it. That restraint makes you rare. It tells her you value the person, not the story. 4. Anchor, not knight. Why she wants steadiness that empowers, not rescue that diminishes. There's a seductive fantasy in modern dating. Be the knight who sweeps in and fixes everything. It feels heroic. But for most women, heroism that erases their agency is infantilizing. James in New York was a classic rescuer. When his girlfriend Emily spoke of a toxic boss, James wanted to storm HR and set things right. He imagined her grateful, dependent on his power. Instead, Emily recoiled. She appreciated the sentiment but felt sidelined. Like the man she'd chosen to be equal to had decided she couldn't carry her own weight. Contrast Mark in Sydney. When Sarah complained about the same problem, Mark asked, what outcome do you want? Want me to help you map your response, or do you want me to be your bounce board? He remained an anchor and steady, supporting, never replacing her action. Women want partnership, not salvation. Being an anchor means offering strength that amplifies her, ability to act, not strength that takes over. Anchors give space for agency and step in to steady, not to dictate. Practice: when she asks for help, respond with questions that give her choice. How do you want to handle this? Or would you like help making a plan? That reframes you as co-strategist, not control freak. It's magnetic. Find safety solutions. How emotional safety outvalues clever fixes every time. In a world of quick answers, women crave one thing more than a clever strategy: safety. Emotional safety is the environment where vulnerability can breathe. No algorithm or checklist creates it. Only consistent, patient presence does. In Los Angeles, a woman named Claire shared anxiety about a family problem. Her partner rattled off possible legal paths, support groups, and blog posts. Claire retreated. She didn't want a lecture. She wanted someone who could hold the trembling edge of her fear while it passed. Safety is not passive. It's active calm. It's the man who says, I'm here, and actually demonstrates it through tone, timing, and follow-through. That is how trust grows. If you want to be attractive, prioritize safety over solutions. Don't compete to be clever. Compete to be steady. Offer help in ways that preserve her dignity and sovereignty, and always check in later. The follow-up text, the small check-in, the remembered detail. These are the ligaments that hold intimacy together. 6. The Stoic listening triad. Mirror, clarify, support. The 3-step response that changes everything. If you want a practical muscle to train, here it is, the Stoic listening triad. It's a clean, repeatable formula that turns raw moments into deep connection. Step 1. Mirror. Reflect the emotion. Not a paraphrase of the facts, but the feeling, that sounds humiliating, or you're really disappointed. Mirroring shows you're present. Step 2. Clarify. Ask one precise question. Do you want advice, or do you just need to vent? That tiny question places choice with her and prevents you from assuming control. Step 3. Support. Offer either presence or high-leverage assistance. Presence: I'm right here. Assistance: if you want a plan, here are 3 options. Keep it brief. Keep it focused on outcomes. Story: Michael from Toronto used to interrupt with solutions. After a breakup, he learned to mirror and ask. The change was seismic. People opened to him. His relationships deepened. He became someone women recommended to friends because he listened without trying to be the hero. Train this triad until it feels natural. It will separate you from men who either overtalk or invisible themselves. When done well, it's a quiet leadership that looks a lot like strength. 7. The 4 silencers. The common mistakes that quietly kill trust and attraction. There are 4 mistakes, silencers, that stop women from opening up. They're subtle, and men make them thinking they're being helpful. Silencer 1. The fixer. You jump to solutions before she's finished. Outcome, she feels unheard. Silencer 2. The judge. You minimize or moralize her emotion. You're overreacting. Outcome, she feels invalidated. Silencer 3. The mirror thief. You turn the conversation to yourself. That happened to me once. Outcome, her moment becomes your platform. Silencer 4. The loudmouth. You share her private pain publicly or with friends. Outcome, she feels betrayed. Each silencer roots in insecurity, the need to be right, to be seen, to be admired. Replace them with curiosity. Ask what matters most to you about this, instead of why did you do that? Curiosity converts defensiveness into trust. When you catch yourself wanting to fix, judge, make it about you, or share, pause. That pause saves relationships. The man who can delay gratification, the impulse to impress, becomes rare and, therefore, attractive. 8. Habits of presence. Micro practices that train you to become reliably grounded. This skill isn't magic, it's habit. Here are daily practices that build your muscle. 2-beat pause before answering, count 2 beats. This prevents the reflex to rescue. Value listening. Mentally note repeated words she uses. Speak to those values. Confidentiality default. Never repeat something shared in confidence unless she allows it. Follow-up ritual. Send a text later that references the conversation. It's small but loud. Thinking of you today, hope it went okay. Is gold. Role practice. Once a week, practice mirroring and clarifying with a friend. It sounds awkward, but muscle remembers. Stoic recalibration. Remind yourself that you control your response, not her emotion. Anchor in that responsibility. Every big change is the result of small, repeated acts. These habits turn reactive men into steady companions. They transform shallow attraction into durable connection. They're the reason some men are remembered for decades, and others are forgotten after a single dinner. Conclusion. When a woman shares her problems, she isn't asking you to fix them, she's revealing her trust. She wants to see if you can hold space without trying to control it. True strength isn't in solving, it's in listening, understanding and protecting what she confides. Be steady, not reactive. Ask before advising. Remember what she said. Guard her vulnerability like it's sacred. That's what makes a man unforgettable. Not his words, but his presence. Hey, with that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.